Hello, beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I do this through one-on-one angel sessions, which are wonderful. They are 60-minute sessions that take place over the phone. And I call in the angels for you and draw some oracle cards and channel messages for you. We have a beautiful conversation. And my intention is always to help you deepen in your divine guidance. And if you're ever interested in scheduling a session, I invite you to go over to my website, illuminatingsouls.com, for more information. I also offer soul mentoring, which provides for consistent support. We meet weekly that will help you heal, grow, transform, awaken as you move through a time of growth in your life. And I also offer a variety of classes that take place over Zoom. I have one group that is meeting that is supportive of other soul-inspired entrepreneurs. I have a beautiful group that's meeting where we are connecting with the stories of our souls. So there's always something interesting that is being offered, and I invite you to sign up for my mailing list at illuminatingsouls.com, and you'll be in the know. You'll be the first to know whenever my new offerings come into the world. But for now, the angels and I are here to help co-create a cozy, sacred, loving space for you to drift off to sleep. And I know some of you use this during the daytime when you're not going to sleep, and perhaps then it will provide a space for you simply to connect with the nourishing, light-filled frequencies that come with the angels. Respite is always nice, yes. Nurturing, nourishing energies are always welcome, no matter what time of day you receive them. So if you're new to the world of angels, they are divine celestial beings who are the embodiment of divine unconditional love. And we all have them. I like to vision the world, the universe, as a place where every molecule of consciousness is loved and is provided for. And something magical happens when we open to this awareness. We become more attuned to how the light and divine love show up in our day-to-day lives. So it's not that you have to do anything more than you're already doing. You don't have to become a better version of you. You don't have to heal your deepest pain. It is simply about turning towards that which is love, that which is goodness, that which is compassion and light. And it makes it so much easier for the angels to connect with you. When I teach people how to connect with the angels, there can be this misperception that you have to become profoundly psychic and intuitive. And instead, I offer this instead. Most of us have a place in consciousness that we go where the inner voices reside. Usually this is where the list maker is, right? I have to stop and pick up more bread on the way home today. Or that place where you go where you're contemplating having to go into the office the next day. Or that part of consciousness that assesses how you look when you peek in the mirror in the morning. So, for most of us, we are aware of an inner dialogue that is always taking place. And we can influence that inner dialogue. So, to begin connecting with the angels, what I recommend is first ask the angels to connect with you in a way that is meaningful. We have to ask first. Ask is the first piece of wisdom I have for you. And then imagine, if you will, contemplate that the imagination is a gateway to divine guidance. It's not that it's all one and the same. It's not the same piece of real estate in consciousness, but there is overlap. So, if you will use your imagination to begin imagining the most loving, compassionate, light-filled voice in the universe speaking to you. So what might that sound like? There might start off with just a really beautiful invitation that sounds like beautiful one, beloved, sweet one. And then they will come to comfort you. We are here for you. We love you. We are holding for you in the light. So you may first begin imagining a very sweet and soothing dialogue with your angels. Your angels will never be disappointed in you, so they will never come through and criticize you or shame you. They will speak to you in ways that open your soul in a bright and beautiful way. They will speak to you in affirming tones. They know you. They know the deepest parts of you, and they're here to love and support you. So the angels aren't going to come to you and say, you really need to get off the couch. What are you doing? You're sleeping your life away. That would not be the angels. Instead, the angels might say something like, there's a beautiful life here for you, and we are supporting you as you begin to awaken to the beautiful opportunities that are here for you. So they will speak to you in ways that help soothe and comfort and inspire you. And it may take a little while to hone that part of your consciousness. And that's why this podcast is here. Hopefully, I help model that for you. So take a breath in and know that your angels are with you. And they love you. And they get you. They're team you. And it's not unusual when you begin doing this to feel like you're making it up. It's not as if a disembodied voice, like that would be spooky, right? Comes in and begins giving you marching orders. Cancel, clear, delete. That will not happen. But it's more that you blossom open to a brighter frequency of consciousness that is available to you. It's like the blinders come off and your inner consciousness becomes connected with a more expansive expression of light that is available to you and through you. What if there was a broadcast that was always happening to support you? So if you will think of the way radio works, radio stations, yes. It's always playing, whether you listen to it or not, right? There are plenty of stations that are always broadcasting that you do not listen to. Doesn't mean they don't exist. So imagine, if you will, taking your consciousness, the remote control on your consciousness, and tilting it up vibrationally, like one of those old school satellite dishes, tilting it up to the angelic realms where you can tune into and receive the broadcasts of light that are taking place in your favor. And it's not uncommon to feel silly doing this. It's always interesting when I teach my channeling classes and we make space for people's guides to come through. You know, we want the guides to tell us something we couldn't possibly know so that we're certain that our messages are authentic. And you know what the first message is almost always that comes through? We love you. And you're not alone. And the intellect receiving this message wants to toss it out because it is so trite. It's trite. I'm making this up. It's a Hallmark card. I don't want a platitude. But these messages do not come through only in words. They come through vibrationally. If you can imagine for a moment that your angels have access to you, what do you think they're going to say? We love you. You are loved. And we are with you. It is the most important message the angels have to give you. And from there, the relationship and the conversation builds. So just imagine as you're drifting off, your angels are coming to you. They say to you, we love you. Every part of you is loved. And then they might say something like, release your worries and your burdens to us. Let us carry them for you. And we will take good care of you. So just breathe that in. Breathe in the love. You do not have to become super psychic in order to connect with the angels. It is a gift that already dwells within you. It's just about awakening to it, feeling into it, and letting it be so. So they're already here, but I am going to invite in the angels to be with us. And first I invite you to cozy on up and snuggle on in and get comfortable. For me, when I do this, when I'm listening to a sleep podcast, I pull the blankets over my head. I'm one of those people who sleeps covered in blankets, surrounded by pillows. It's my favorite time of the day when I get into bed and I cozy on up and shuffle just so, and my body gets to let go. Like, okay, God. All right, God, I did this day. I showed up for this day, and now I'm ready to release and come into that beautiful mystery of sleep. So I invite you to do that right now. And I'm going to call in the angels. So beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. And I am so deeply grateful for the gift of you. And even as I say that, I can feel you reflecting that you are so deeply grateful for the gift of each one of us. Thank you for this time together. And angels, I ask that you help to clear our energy fields through the heart of God, helping to clear away anything that no longer supports our highest and best good. Please help to release us from any burdens that need not be carried, helping us open to brighter frequencies of inspiration, of possibilities, and of light. So, dear ones, just take a nice deep breath in and allow the love to pour over you. Frequencies of divine love are coming to you now, and healing is coming to you now. Just soak it in. Soak it into your bones. Soak it into your thoughts. Soak it into your heart that you are loved, that you are precious, that you matter in this world, that your life is a blessing to this world. Even if it might not feel that way right now, it is true. You are one who carries love in your heart. So just breathe and allow yourself to receive right now. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to fix. You get to just be right now with your angels on this wave of love that has been calibrated just for you. You are a blessing in this life. And I affirm that wonderful opportunities, serendipity, and goodness is flowing to you now. You are opening to even more of who you are in the best way possible. That the richness of your authentic self is shining forth and is magnetizing to you wonderful experiences that will fulfill your spirit and help you remember who you are as a divine being in human form, as a beloved of this universe. You are a big, bright soul. You are a bringer of light. You are an inspirer. You are a way shower. You are filled with magic and creativity and beautiful light. And it truly is our blessing to help you remember who you are. This world is brighter because you are here. So the angels and I are wishing you blessed sleep. May your dreams be sweet. May you feel refreshed and replenished. And while you rest, I'm going to tell you a story. So I thought we could take a walk down memory lane together. I love these episodes where we go into the Wayback Machine. And what I want to share with you about tonight is the evolution of the home video industry, because that was the industry that I worked in for many, many years. So I don't know what the ages of many of you who are listening. For those of you who are 40 or older, you likely remember the launch of the video industry. So we got our first VCR somewhere around 1980 or 1982, somewhere in there. And at first, VCRs were used to time shift recordings of television programs, which was revolutionary. Before VCRs existed, you were beholden to whatever was airing on broadcast TV. So the networks would show the episodes, and you would either watch them or you wouldn't, but you had no ability to go back and rewatch them on your own whenever you wanted to. So when VCRs were invented, it allowed for this ability to record a program and time shift it to whenever you wanted to watch it. The other thing it provided for was a mechanism by which you could purchase or rent a video cassette that would have a movie or program on it from a store like Blockbuster. Prior to that, you had to go to a movie theater to see a movie. Or maybe if you were in school, they would show one of those old 16mm movies for you. But this idea of having a medium that was easily brought into the home, where you could choose what you wanted to watch, was a remarkable revolution. I was trying to remember the first time I ever watched a movie in someone's home, and I seem to recall it was at a friend's house in high school or maybe in college. So that would have been the late 70s, early 80s, so somewhere around there. And his father, I believe, worked in the music industry and had a VCR and had some movies. And we watched A Clockwork Orange, which, oh my God, I can never watch that movie again. Don't watch it. But it was this remarkable experience of sitting on someone's couch and then watching a movie. So that must have been high school, I guess. And before that, that just didn't exist. So this created an opportunity for our viewing habits to change and the way we consumed movies and television programs to change. And that's one of the things I find so interesting about the evolution of technology, is there are these moments that shift our lifestyles and how we engage in the world around us. So in the early years of the video industry, I really related to it as a consumer. So I had my VCR, which was a Betamax. We chose the Betamax in our home. It was supposed to be better than the VHS, but VHS ultimately won the format wars. And we would time shift. And listen, if you ever have kids who feel superior because they know how to program your phone, get one of the old VCRs out and ask them to record a program at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night and see how smug they are, because learning how to program your VCR was a whole skill set in and of itself. Yes, to get rid of the flashing time that flashed 12 o'clock, to reset the clock and get your program set up so that they recorded. So the early days I was a consumer. And now's where I'll share with you about when I became part of the video industry. So I had shared with you in a prior podcast that I used to work in the video industry. I worked for a video distribution company. And that's where I met my first schoolgirl crush, Bobby Sherman. And I had said that at the time I wasn't going to share with you who owned the company because it wasn't time for that story. And it isn't really time for that story now either, but I have to mention him to give him his due, because it really was a remarkable experience to work for this gentleman. So I'll start off with how I got the job. I had been working for a film distribution company. I'd been working for the Samuel Goldwyn Company. And I had really reached a wall. I had a boss that I really had difficulties with. And that's as much as I'll say about it. But I had just been introduced to the work of Louise Hay. So within like a year or two of that experience, I had opened up to the New Age and metaphysics, and I had been reading You Can Heal Your Life because I wanted to heal my life. And as I was visioning back in the day, visioning what my next job would be, I had a salary that I wanted to earn, and I had a list of experiences I wanted to have. And at the top of my list was I wanted to work for someone who was kind. Because the boss that I had been having experiences with prior had a way of managing that I found to be unkind. And I do not do well when there is unkindness. I know that will not be shocking to you. So at the top of my list was I wanted to work for someone who was kind. And a friend of mine had had success with an employment agency, so I registered to be with them. That'll be a whole other story of the job I did not get that broke my heart. But I had qualified for an interview for this video company called Pacific Arts. And Pacific Arts was owned by Michael Nesmith. And that name may or may not be familiar to you, but he was one of the Monkees. Yes, if you remember the television show The Monkees, Michael was the one who wore the hat. So that's as much as I knew about him. But I had also read that he was a visionary of sorts. He is credited with having created the first music video, Elephant Parts, and he had a really good reputation in the industry. And I remember when I was going to go for the interview, I asked around. I tried to find out about him. And I kept hearing that he was kind, And that was as much as I needed to know. And when I went for my interview with him, I don't remember much of what we talked about, but he said, "What are you looking for in a job?" And I said, "Well, first and foremost, I want to work for somebody who is kind. And I've asked around and I have heard that you're a kind person. And I want to contribute to an organization. And I want to grow. I love being part of a team. I love the team dynamic. And I'd love to work for you." And I got the job as his personal assistant. And at the time, Pacific Arts distributed specialty video. So it wasn't big theatrical movies. It was things like computer animation, which at the time was profoundly specialized. And here's how the video industry worked back then. So for those of you who remember the days of Blockbuster, where, on a Friday night or something, you would go to Blockbuster and rent a movie. So what would happen were the theatrical movies would be then distributed to video stores on a model that was called rental. So the video cassettes of a big movie would cost like $200. It was not priced to go direct to consumers. Each cassette would be priced at a very high price point so that the video stores would then buy them and they would make their money back by renting them to the consumers. So it's not as if you would go and buy a copy of Top Gun. Top Gun would get priced so that the video rental stores would buy them at a high price point and then would rent them to the consumer base. And that was the rental model. After a movie had been at rental for a period of time, let's say a year, I don't know how long it would have been, then the company could drop the price point for sell-through. So once a movie or a program was available to the sell-through market, it would get priced at, let's say, $20. But the model, especially for Blockbuster movies, had been first it would go to rental, where consumers would go to Blockbuster and hope to get it on a Friday night. And then after a certain period of time, the price would then drop and it would get re-released for the sell-through market. So that was the business model in the beginning of days. And for those of you who might be too young to remember the days of Blockbuster, you would go into the store. There were other stores, but Blockbuster was the 10-ton gorilla of the industry. And almost always the movie that you really wanted to watch was already out because somebody else had gotten it. So it really was a treasure hunt to try to get the movies that you really wanted to see. And again, this was before we had streaming, so you weren't going to just go home and watch, Netflix. You would either watch what was on broadcast television, or you would watch what you had recorded on your VCR. But if you really wanted to watch a Blockbuster movie, you would go to the video store and rent it, and you'd pay per night. So it was definitely a part of our culture to get pizza or Chinese food or something to go and get a movie and go home. That was how we lived our lives back then. So in our company, we did sell through. We didn't do much of a rental business because our our programs were not necessarily the kinds of programs people would go into Blockbuster to rent. We did do some rental, but mostly we did sell through. The benefit for our product for a rental company like a Blockbuster or your mom and pop video store was they could buy one of our programs for, let's say, $20 or $25 and then rent that and make their money back more quickly. So we did sell through what might be called special interest videos. Some of the other things, if you remember the days of Blockbuster, so with a video cassette, when it got to the end of the movie, the video cassette had to get rewound. So for those of you who are too young to remember, that might sound strange because, technology is digital now and it all takes care of itself. There is no rewind, having to rewind a movie before you return it. But you had to do that back in the day, and Blockbuster or whatever video store you were at would usually charge you $2 if they had to rewind the movie for you. So you had to make sure you rewound the video before you returned it. And one of the big shifts that happened in the video industry happened somewhere around 1990. And I remember this clearly. Our big industry convention was the VSDA, which stands for Video Software Dealers Association. So we would exhibit at this huge trade show every year. It was always in Vegas. Usually, I seem to recall it was in August, like the hottest place on earth. It was so hot. And it would be in this big convention hall with concrete floors, and you would pay a lot of money to have an exhibit company build a booth for you. And there would be a big expo. So what I recall is somewhere around 1990, one of the hit movies of that time was Pretty Woman. And don't get me started on that movie because that could be a whole diatribe in and of itself, but it was Pretty Woman. And Disney was the one who had released it. And Disney decided they were going to bring it straight to the sell-through market, which meant it was not going to have a rental window. So here was this hit movie that the video stores were planning on having this be a big revenue generator in the rental market. And Disney decided they were going to bring it straight through to sell-through. And the industry was so upset about this. I remember that year's VSDA, people were taking the sell sheets, the marketing materials for Pretty Woman, and balling them up and throwing them back into Disney's booth. There was this big outrage. But that moment changed the video industry, where now it was a strategy. Will a title go to rental first? Will it go straight to sell-through? And as consumers, that you could now choose to buy a movie rather than rent it. Especially when we're talking about movies and programs that an audience is going to want to watch over and over again. So think kids, right? Think Barney, Veggie Tales, Blue's Clues, Disney movies, so that you could buy them now and bring them into your home and let your kids watch them over and over again. It's changed the way we consume media. When I was growing up, you could only watch what was on. We had Bozo Circus from 12 to 1. And then if there was nothing on for kids, we went out to play. There was not this option of choosing programming. So Pretty Woman and Disney's straight to sell through changed the industry. So by 1990, 1991, 1992, we could really begin purchasing a lot of movies for our homes. We could purchase them before then, but the economic model was different. And what was really interesting working for Pacific Arts during that time was to watch the evolution of the industry. We distributed the PBS line. We distributed PBS home video for a few years. And I was working there when the Civil War came out, the Civil War video by Ken Burns, which was, again, it reinvented the documentary industry. And it was a huge production and did really well on home video. And I remember when the video was designed that I think there were 9 VHS cassettes, and it was designed so that when you lined the spines of the tapes up, it gave you this beautiful tableau from the Civil War. And it really was a fascinating time to work in the industry because so much was evolving. And it was interesting because Michael he was a visionary. He would always see ahead of time what was coming down the line. So we had really unique marketing strategies, which will be a different podcast episode because that's fascinating. And how I got to play a role in that. But we're going to stick with the video industry right now. So I worked for Pacific Arts. We did sell-through video. I got to go to the VSDA, which was exhausting, the big trade association. If any of you have ever had to do those big expos for work, you know how exhausting they are, and you're standing on concrete for 10 hours a day, and it was hot. I just remember being so miserable. But this is not about my Las Vegas misery. I want to stick to the topic of the home video industry. So the next big development that would come in 1997, which was when DVDs were released and invented. That before then, it was all VHS. And the thing about video cassettes is that they degrade. It's not digital. So when you have a digital media like a CD or a DVD, it doesn't degrade over time. Whereas a video cassette will. It can get scratched, it can get bent. And so when DVDs were first released in 1997, it was a big shift for the industry. But it took several years before DVDs would replace the video cassettes. When the DVDs finally started replacing video cassettes, that started to be the beginning of the end for Blockbuster, because there was a change in technology. And every time there's a change in technology, business models change. So, right around the time that DVDs come onto the market, Netflix is born. It used to be that Netflix's model was you paid a monthly subscription charge, and then they would mail you the DVDs, and when you were done, you mailed them back. So it was a mail-in subscription. I never really used Netflix at that point. My friends did. But it didn't really call to me. But it was an industry disruptor because something was changing. One of my other memories of the video industry that I want to share with you was another organization I want to share with you about was VIAC. It stands for Video Industry AIDS Action Committee. And one of the ways they raised money was every year they would do a sale. And they would get the various studios to donate product that they would then resell. So, those of us who worked in the industry would get to purchase, in the years that it was the VHS tapes versus, the DVDs, sort of as the media changed. But we could buy movies and programs for $5 a piece, which was incredibly cheap. It's cheap now. It was really cheap then. So we could get these movies for $5. And then when DVDs came into the market, we could get those for $5. And so the annual VIAC sale was a joy to participate in, and the money went to a good cause. So I would say probably 75% of my home video collection that was very robust in the day came through the VIAC sales. And we would wait all year to see what would be on the list. And I would study it, would study that list and figure out what I was going to buy. And I got things, like, I would get things like multi-DVD sets of TV series, favorite movies. I still have some of them in the garage. I don't even have a DVD player hooked up anymore. And over the years, I have given most of them away. There's a few that I have hung on to that live in a box in my garage that at some point I might watch again, things that are no longer available or harder to find that don't stream yet on Netflix. But speaking of Netflix, talk about an industry disruptor, right? So it was in 2007, so rather recently, you guys, 2007, that Netflix introduced its streaming service. It's so interesting to see where different companies invented new industry and others fell by the wayside. Here Blockbuster was. They were the behemoth of the industry for many, many years. And they were not able to make the shift with technology. So now Blockbuster's a memory that, a specific generation has. And now it just becomes part of our history versus Netflix, which completely reinvented the industry. And I've shared this before, just so you know, you never want to take financial advice from me because I owned Netflix stock and I didn't think it was going anywhere. And just before it really took off, I sold it. I was like, I don't know that anything's going to happen. What do I know? And I sold it. Which now I won't even do the math, but I have to imagine my whatever it was, $2,000 worth of Netflix stock would be worth $40,000 now or something like that. I don't know what the math is, but don't listen to me for that kind of stuff. I'm good to help you connect with the angels and help inspire you. Don't ever take a stock tip from me, for sure. You have been forewarned. And then Netflix came in and, again, completely rewired the industry. I don't know about you, but I haven't purchased a movie in years. In years, I haven't. And now we think nothing of pulling it up on our phone. Or, I don't know about you, but do you get annoyed when you can't find something streaming? Right? I'm like, what do you mean it's not streaming? What do you mean it's not on one of my many streaming services that I have access to? I don't have Netflix at the moment. I gave it up because we weren't watching it, and I figured I will re-up with them. I'm contemplating re-upping because I would like to watch the next Stranger Things episode. But I have Hulu because I do enjoy watching my shows without commercials, and that this way I don't have to put them on the DVR. We have Amazon Prime because I do Amazon Prime anyways. Because we have Comcast, we get Peacock, and we have the HBO version, so we get HBO Max, which gives us access to West Wing and Doctor Who and some of our favorite shows. And to live in a time of such profound abundance is crazy, especially when I think of where we've come from in the timeline of my life and in the timeline of my professional career, going from a time when it was a very unique experience to be able to own a program and watch it in your home. Like, that was a really new experience within the timeline of my life. You know, there were certain movies that I was so excited to get to own. I owned it. And it meant that I could watch it whenever I wanted to. It was a joy. Versus now, I have the expectation that everything should be at my fingertips. What a difference, right? What a difference. Now I'm like, what do you mean it's not available? I think of some of my favorite shows that are not available. 30-something. How many of you loved 30-something when it was on? I would love to watch that again. Northern Exposure. Brilliant show. I have mentioned before my love of Chicago Hope, which I think I was the only one who watched. I would love to watch that again. And now I get annoyed that they're not available because I have this expectation that everything is available now. And it's a remarkable journey of evolution of how we consume our media that has happened in like the past 30 or 40 years. It's amazing how things have changed. And I just wonder what's coming in the next 15 or 20 years. Right? We now have access to everything over the internet. That crazy newfangled internet that also came online in my lifetime. And now I just can pull up my tablet or my phone and watch whatever I want, whenever I want to. For a girl who grew up loving television and movies, this would have been heaven on earth. Would have been heaven on earth. And it kind of is in a way, but I'm just saying, if someone would have told me when I was, 10 years old that I would have this little magical device that I could carry in my hand and I could watch anything I wanted whenever I wanted to, it would have seemed like it was a space movie, science fiction. That I could pull up pictures and movies and books on this little screen, this little piece of glass that I carried in my hand. That I could talk to people around the world. I would have thought that was a remarkable miracle. And now it's just ordinary. Isn't that funny? Now it's my phone. and I get annoyed if it doesn't do what I want it to do. How easily we adapt to technology, right? How easily we adapt to the new reality. With the internet service provider we have right now, there are these moments when it's unstable and it drops, maybe for 30 seconds. You would think that I just had to chop firewood for as inconvenienced as I am. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this isn't working better. Versus just recognizing what a time of miracles we live in. So that's my rambles for you in this episode about my experiences in the video industry and the VSDA and VIAC and the beginnings of Netflix and DVDs and remembering the trips to Blockbuster and having to rewind our movies so we didn't get charged the extra $2. I don't know how many of you remember those times, but we have seen a lot. We have seen the evolution of so much in such a short period of time. So I hope by now you're drifting off. I hope that you have sweet dreams and you have a good rest. And I'm so deeply grateful for you. And I look forward to connecting again soon. Thank you.